Gearing up for a GST hike, what will a 9% goods and services tax mean for you and your family? Australia will finally reopen its borders to vaccinated travellers this month after 2 years. And in smart parenting, why practicing gratitude leads to resilience in children. Good evening, you're watching The Big Story with me, Hairianto Diman. Subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you will not miss a single episode. Finance Minister Lawrence Wong will deliver Singapore's Budget 2022 statement in Parliament next Friday, February 18th at 3:30 p.m. The Straits Times will have live coverage of Mr. Wong's speech on our website, Facebook and YouTube channels. One thing to look out for, a planned GST hike with more details expected to be revealed on the 18th. There's been much speculation about exactly when it will take place and what impact it'll have on Singapore households and businesses. Opinion editor Grace Ho joins me now. Grace, why is it necessary for Singapore to raise GST at this time?
Well, there's never a good time to make people pay more. But generally, raising the tax is more acceptable when there's economic growth and renewed consumer spending. This year, GDP is expected to grow 3 to 5%. But beyond this year, Singapore also needs tax revenue to fund social and healthcare spending given its aging population. The GST was last raised 15 years ago. So since then, public expenditure has grown a lot. Between 2007 and 2019, government spending rose from 33 billion to 75 billion a year. Government healthcare expenditure grew from around 2.2 billion to 11.3 billion. So having run up cumulative budget deficits of more than 75 billion over the last 2 years during the pandemic and drawn down reserves, about 53.7 billion, there's also some urgency to rebuild public finances. And the government also has to meet the constitutional requirement to balance the budget by 2025.
Back in 2018, it was announced that the GST would be raised from 7% to 9%. Grace, is it likely that this hike would be staggered, or would the 2 percentage points increase happen in one go?
There's no perfect way to address this. I mean, either way, you do it, not everyone's going to be happy. But the GST hike over 2003 and 2004 was done in a staggered manner, in other words, by 1 percentage point every year, so as to ease in the cost burden for the consumers. We have to remember that at the time, Singapore was emerging from the aftermath of the September 11 terrorist attack and SARS in 2003. But this approach causes some inconvenience to GST registered businesses because they have to adjust their enterprise resource planning systems and their price displays a few times. So some analysts expect the GST to be raised by 2 percentage points at one go. But it's not unanimous. Some also say that it would be unpalatable for businesses and consumers to swallow the immediate 2 percentage point hike when there's still Omicron.
Grace, why not just tax the rich? Is it possible for the government to tax just higher income individuals?
Yes, it is possible for the government to tax just the rich. But I think, one of the issues when discussing an emotive issue like GST is that discussion of wealth and income taxes often veers into this Robin Hood argument of let's punish the rich to pay the poor. But if we look objectively at why GST is such a powerful tool, it's because it's a broad-based tax. So first, it's easy to administer. Basically, whatever you consume domestically, it gets taxed. Second, it's relatively stable and reliable as a source of revenue. Why? Because it's less susceptible to fluctuations in stock markets, commodity markets, property markets. Third, it doesn't distort the behavior of companies and households because it's applied across the board. It doesn't cause people to say, okay, I'm not going to consume one item versus another. In contrast, your income tax, your wealth tax can have a distortive effect because taxpayers are incentivized to avoid reaching certain levels of income. So if I was a rich person who wanted to avoid taxes, I could hire an accountant to help me find ways to do so. Whereas with the GST, say I'm rich and I go and spend $500 on an expensive meal, I would get taxed the full amount of GST and I'll be paying more than someone else who doesn't spend money on that expensive meal. But in the end, overall, I think measures to give people equal opportunities, such as access to education, investing in vulnerable communities, that's more powerful than any forced wealth redistribution.
Grace, thank you for your perspectives. Grace Ho, opinion editor of the Straits Times. Grace has put together 15 questions addressing the impending GST hike. She's answered some with me today, and you can read her full story at straitstimes.com. As Singapore transitions to the endemic phase in our COVID-19 fight, livelihoods and cost of living are two main concerns of workers, which NTUC is paying close attention to. When coping with such concerns, higher wages will give workers added protection, and these come from better jobs and relevant skills. So, sharing its plans for 2022, NTUC will keep pushing for workers to get access to better paying jobs through current training and business transformation initiatives like company training committees, which was launched in April 2019.
In 2022, we want to focus on enabling our workers through the training innovations that NTUC have made in the last few years. The company training committees that we have set up now has reached a good number, and as of today, I think it is 811 of the CTCs that have been set up, impacting a few 100,000 of our workers. We want to scale this because we think that in the last 3 years of innovation in piloting this program, there is good movement, and it can be a needle mover. And in terms of the interest of workers, in different circles, I have heard about the concerns about the cost of living, so on and so forth. In reality, the best way to beat inflation and the cost of living is still a good job.
In other headlines, Ms. Teo Lei Lim, former chairman of IT services and consulting firm Accenture Singapore, will be the new CEO of SPH Media Group, which the Straits Times is part of. She will take over from interim CEO Patrick Daniel from March 1st. Ms. Teo has more than 30 years of expertise in Accenture and has regional experience as CEO of Accenture Southeast Asia from 2011 to 2020. This year's Singapore Air Show will live stream 8 flying displays and flypasts, which can be found at MINDEF's website and the Singapore Air Show's official Facebook page. The flying displays will be held once a day at 12:30 p.m. on February 15th and 11:30 a.m. on the 16th, 17th and 18th. Overseas, Australia will allow fully vaccinated travellers back into the country in 2 weeks' time from February 21st. Incoming tourists are only required to be double-dosed against COVID-19 and will not need to have received a booster shot. However, each state will still be able to set its own quarantine rules.
G'day, I've just made the announcement that we're reopening the international borders on the 21st of February this year to all vaccinated, fully vaccinated, that's 2 doses of the vaccine, of international travellers, so in particular international visitors. They will join the backpackers and the students and others who've been able to come so far. So this is going to be good news for the tourism industry. We're getting back to normal as much as we possibly can and pushing back against COVID and pushing forward.
New research on teenagers in Singapore has found that engaging in acts of gratitude increases their resilience. It also helps to improve their well-being and even relationships. The National Institute of Education conducted 3 studies over the last 9 years involving more than 500 students aged between 13 and 16 from neighbourhood schools. The results are striking. Doing gratitude-related activities reduced depressive symptoms and perceived stress among these teenagers. For our Smart Parenting feature today, I am pleased to welcome Dr. Imelda Caleon, Senior Research Scientist at NIE, who led the studies on gratitude. Welcome to the show, Doctor. Doctor, how can parents help their children practice acts of gratitude, both big and small? I suppose it's not just about saying thank you.
Hi, Haryanto. You are right. Cultivating gratitude among children is more than just saying thanks. Parents can help their children practice gratitude by encouraging and modeling two key approaches that have been found effective in our series of research projects at NIE as well as in international studies. These approaches are gratitude reflection and gratitude expression. Gratitude reflection can be done by writing down 3 to 5 things, events, or people that we are grateful for and why we are grateful for them. Parents and their children can do this more creatively. They can write their gratitude reflection on post-it notes and then stick them on magnetic boards either daily or weekly. In one of our research projects, we asked the students in its class to paste their gratitude notes on a poster paper with the image of a tree that was displayed in key locations at school. I think doing this at home can make gratitude more visible and encourage collaboration among family members. In our research projects, we have also done gratitude reflection with a twist. We asked the students to imagine and write down how their life would be like if the things, events, or persons for which they are grateful is not present in their lives. Many students indicated that they appreciated their family members, teachers, and peers more in doing this activity. For the second approach that I mentioned, which is gratitude expression, we can ask our children to write gratitude letters or cards for those whom they have not properly thanked. The children also need to elaborate on why they are grateful to these people and think about the time and effort spent by these people to do something nice or useful for them. Gratitude expression becomes more powerful when the gratitude letters or cards are read orally to the recipients. Just like in gratitude reflection, the children may also express their gratitude more creatively, such as by writing poems or videotaping themselves reading their gratitude letters before sending the video and the letter to the recipients. In practicing gratitude, variety is important to avoid what I term as gratitude fatigue, which means getting acclimatized to gratitude to the point that it weakens or loses its effects. Aside from the suggested creative ways by which gratitude reflection and expression can be done, changing the focus of these activities per week is also advisable. For example, for 1 week, the children can think about people or events in school settings that they are grateful for. Then, on the following week, the focus could be people or events in home or community settings.
The pandemic has presented new challenges for both parents and kids over the past 2 years. Doctor, how important is gratitude in times like these?
Well, in the midst of stressful situations that threaten our life, well-being, and personal relationships, such as during the pandemic, we need greater doses of gratitude to serve as our psychological vaccine, so to speak. In fact, it is in these situations when we are likely to gain the most from practicing gratitude. Several studies show that gratitude is associated with better mental and physical health. For example, better sleep, lower stress levels, and lower blood pressure. Our own research at NIE also shows that gratitude helps to build resilience and ability to cope with challenges. However, I would like to share one caveat. Practicing gratitude does not mean denying the negativities present in our lives and in ignoring our negative emotions like fear and anxiety. Facing challenges with gratitude means seeing and appreciating the good and opportunities that come with these challenges. The pandemic offers some gratitude teaching moments. For example, we can ask the children to reflect on how our life and situation has improved since the early days of the pandemic and how the hard work of many people, the healthcare workers, vaccine developers, or government leaders have led to this.
Doctor, it may not be easy to be grateful if you're falling behind in school, missing friends as well. So what's your advice to teenagers who may be feeling less than positive or even demoralized?
Well, my advice to teenagers who are facing tough times is to look around them and see the people who have supported them in the past or those who care for them. Teenagers should not hesitate to ask for help nor feel like a burden. But then, after receiving support, they need to be reminded to express their appreciation of these people so that these people continue to be motivated or inspired to help them and others. Better yet, teenagers can also be encouraged to pay it forward. That is, support others or their peers who also need help, which is a different way of expressing gratitude. Teenagers facing challenges at school can also think about other aspects of their present lives, such as their friendships or sport engagements that went well. They can also recall the events in the past during which they have overcome difficulties and think of what helped them and those who supported them. Thinking about past successes and appreciating what goes well in their lives can serve as means to boost their self-confidence and resilience to tackle present challenges. I encourage parents to model and practice gratitude with their teenage children, as gratitude can trigger positive cascading effects. It can develop better relationships and sense of belonging, which in turn can lead to better well-being and resilience. These are very important to help our children navigate through difficult times.
Doctor, great advice there. Dr. Imelda Caleon, Senior Research Scientist at the National Institute of Education. We have more tips on how to help children cultivate gratitude, including using positive language or writing down something they are thankful for. You'll find the story online at str.sg/smart parenting. Those are our top stories for today. For more news, visit straitstimes.com and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Haryanto Diman. Join us tomorrow for more stories on The Big Story.